I'm trying to encourage you to have the confidence to have that conversation. It's have the confidence to be a human being and ask if someone's okay. Like, why don't people do that? And people typically will see a barrier in themselves offering support. They'll say, oh, no, look, Georgie's fine. Oh, no, look, I don't want to encroach. Oh, no, it's so not my business. Oh, no, she'll be okay. Or she'll get through 2020. Or we think that we're imposing. Now, I'd rather somebody impose and maybe feel slightly awkward than say, oh, yeah, when Georgie, so sorry, I'm just using it. So when Georgie's, not well, and oh, really? Oh, yeah, well, I saw it, didn't I? Oh, well, I'm not surprised because I've noticed. So I don't want you to be a gold medalist in telling me after the fact. So it's really, how do I encourage you to be confident enough, to ask Georgie if she's okay? And that really is being a human being.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Mind to Lead podcast. And today I am sat down with an incredible human being, Dr. Lee Naylor. Now, if anyone's got the mind to lead, it's this woman. She was a gold medalist in the Commonwealth Games and a bronze medalist in the World Champions. So I'm speaking to an Olympic athlete today. Lee, amazing to have you here today.
Georgie, it's so good to be with you. It's really good. And you know what? Let's preface all of that. That was another lifetime ago, and 20 years ago. Happy to unpack that for you.
Yeah.
Awesome experience, but a long time ago.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's definitely something I'd have right on in the middle of my CV, because I mean, look, anyone seriously to compete at that level, I mean, the mindset has to be incredible. So look, for those people that don't know who you are, let's start there. Just give a brief overview of who is Dr. Lee Naylor and, what's your journey been this far?
Well, I mean, it's been a few decades, so it's a long journey. Where do I start? So I guess people do know me as, being an Olympic athlete. I ran at the Sydney Olympics, which were my last Olympics, and that was like ridiculously exciting. I mean, can you imagine running at your home Olympics? I was really fortunate to run an excellent event insofar it was really sort of a high-profile event. So I ran and trained with Cathy Freeman most of my career. So I was in the Australian team from 1989 and retired at 2000. So I just had this great journey through sport. Really, really lucky. I'm a dairy farmer's daughter. I was just a skinny kid that ran around. I watched. I fell in love with the Olympics, I guess, when I was studying for my year 12 exams, on the couch with my books in my lap. I know that's probably not the way we should do it. And I was watching the Seoul Olympics back in 1988, and I saw Debbie Flintoff-King win the 400 hurdles, and she won. She beat the Russian Stepanova. Perfect name for a hurdler. Can you imagine it? Stepanova. Beat this hurdler by 1/100th of a second. Like so wow. Life-changing, goosebumps. Oh my gosh, I remember it so vividly. And I kind of thought, wow, like, I'm a great runner, I can run, let's do this. And before you know it, when you're young and, you don't have barriers, you just do things. So, before I knew it, like that next year, I was in the Australian team and, was at uni and studying and just kind of, living my best life, but not even realizing it. I guess you take that for granted. And followed that sport, like, that little, I always say that sport is, something that money can't buy. I mean, it does cost a bit to run sport, but that feeling is that feeling that money can't buy. And so, my career, extended for 10 years or so. And yes, thank you so much. I have a gold medal and I've got a bronze medal, and they're somewhere. I don't know if I can find out. The house is a bit cluttered. But they're not really the things that you remember. Like, you just remember the feelings or the experiences and growing up in your 20s and traveling the world with girls and guys in the team, and that really shapes you as a human being. So I love sport, and I still reflect back on sport in my work. and deliver a lot of training, mental health training that we'll talk about today, in the sporting context, for state sporting associations. But I guess I recognised, when I was young, and I came to Melbourne from the dairy farm. I sound like I'm Little House of the Prairie. It's not quite that much, but I absolutely recognise I need to go to uni. Like, I need to have a career. I don't expect myself to be on the back of a cornflakes pack, and that's not fulfilling or rewarding, and that's not going to be me. So I did an undergraduate in biotechnology, which really suited me. So it was evidence-based, give me the facts, and I see science as A plus B equals C. Apparently not everyone does, but that's how I see it. And it's like, I meet people, I just want to know the facts, how old are you? Where do you live? Oh, what's the population of that town? I just go for numbers. I just need to know facts. So biotechnology was really an emerging science, and I really enjoyed that. And then I was offered a scholarship at Melbourne Uni in sort of a relatively new area of their research, which was off campus at the Mental Health Research Institute. So I did a PhD in the Department of Medicine, but in neurochemistry. And so, people on the athletics team just thought I was this brainiac, and, they sort of thought that I, cut open people and did all these weird things. But really, I was just a research scientist. And I was fortunate to work in, schizophrenic research, way back in the mid-90s. So now when I reflect on that, I can see such a progression in people, talking about the common, mental health problems or common mental illnesses in Australia, which are anxiety, depression, substance use. Back then when I was working in schizophrenia from a wet lab science perspective, which is really just helping designing antipsychotics and looking at the pathways, I couldn't imagine, like in the year 2020, that we are talking about mental health so freely. So I can see this glorious progression as human beings, that we are talking about this. We are learning. We are trying to assist people and shape people. In 2020, gosh, what a year! And I've probably never been busier in this space, which is great, but also not so great. So my life, sport, science, mental health, it's all kind of just fits me like a glove, really.
Yeah,
that's me.
Absolutely. Wow, what a story. And you've just touched on something there that I was listening to you there, and what I got from that was that people focus a lot on the goals, but it's not about the goal, it's who you become in the process. And I just think your story leading up to like winning the gold, like you said, I enjoyed the experience, the people, and I think that's where so many people go wrong. They work for these big goals, and actually that's not the fulfilling part, would you say?
Yeah. Oh gosh, absolutely. So I'm never looking at the end point. The end point will come. So it's all about the why and the how, and then the what will happen. The finish line will happen. And so people often think, oh, the finish line will be amazing, will be great. Well, just enjoy, the bits in between. And a lot of the things I say, and I still say them now, it's like, control the controllables, do all these sort of things that will, yes, they'll get you to your end point, but don't miss out on, the bits and pieces in there. And I was really mindful of that, because I was a skinny little kid, and I put my blocks down on the track, and I was in Europe, or I was in Asia, and experiencing these great experiences, and I didn't want to think, well, if I don't win that race, then I failed. Like, you've actually, there's 8 really fast people in a race, and if that's your only outcome, then I think you've really missed the point. And so I talk a lot around sport around that. Like, it's that parent that yells out, don't miss, the goal. It's like, oh my gosh, don't miss. What is that framing? It's like, you've got this. So I'm very much about, enjoying the journey, and Sydney Olympics was 20 years ago. And it's funny because a lot of friends and I have been sharing photos, and they're just hilarious. And some of them I can't remember, but others I look at it and go, oh my gosh, that just feels like yesterday. Aren't we lucky to have had that experience in amongst something that was pretty massive? So, that's around mindfulness, isn't it? Like, really knowing the moment, appreciating the moment. And I appreciated my moment. Dairy farmer's daughter, my parents hadn't left the country, and here I am flying around the world, albeit, wearing Lycra and running, but, whatever takes your fancy. So yeah, I'm really mindful of enjoying the moment, not being outcome driven, because, particularly in sport, there's always someone who may beat you, and I can only control how fast I can run. Someone says, do you think you'll win today? Well, I'm going to run really fast today, but I don't know how fast Georgie's going to run. So it's really about just controlling the controllables. What can I control?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's just such powerful advice. And I can see how sport can just be you can take that and put that into business and life, because I've done it myself. We've talked about this before. I've been very goal orientated before and forgotten about the day to day. And that's really where happiness is. And it's not, like I said, the end goal, it's who you become in the process. I think that's just such a powerful message, especially now. So look, I'd love to dive in deep now into the whole mental health piece with you as well, because it's something that we're both extremely passionate about. And now more than ever, with COVID, with Victoria back in lockdown, with lots of crazy stuff happening, you said there, control the controllables. And I think that that's key right now. So yeah, let's talk to that. Like, what are you seeing? You said you're the busiest you've ever been, and what are you hearing in the market? What's sort of going on out there?
Yeah, well, you know what? Control the controllables is an interesting phrase actually in Victoria, because we're really out of control.
Yeah.
What can we control? And it's glorious speaking to you because I'm not wearing a mask. Typically, I'm speaking, with a mask on. And if I'm walking the dog and someone calls, I'll be saying, "Can you hear me? I'm wearing a mask." Because you're conscious of that. So those things, I can't control that. I'm mindful of being a member of the population that is trying to curb a communicable disease. And so the only way we can do that is through behaviour. So, but what I'm seeing is that puts fear in people. So when you have high demand, low control, so getting to that word control, we all like to be in control. Yes, I'm great. I love my work. I love what I'm doing. Oh, I love my athletics. Oh, I'm running so fast. I'm doing so well. Oh my gosh, they've moved the Olympics. What does that mean? Oh my gosh, I'm working from home. How do I do that? So when you still have demand, so, Olympic athletes have the demand of still wanting to compete and get that money can't buy feeling that's in your heart and never leaves. When you still have that, demand to want to do that, and you're still working because, oh, hang on, I'm young, I want career progression. I've got these are the things I've planned, or hang on, gosh, I can't lose my job. I've got children, I've got to feed them. I've got 3 teenagers. Oh my gosh, they won't stop eating. So when you've got that high demand, but you've got less control, then we see people starting to increase with their anxieties and depression. So I'm fortunate to deliver mental health first aid, which is really an evidence-based, pathway really towards allowing people to identify the signs and symptoms that they may be experiencing the onset of a mental health problem. So we certainly don't speak to illness because we're not, I'm not diagnosing you. But let's just make people aware that maybe we've got a departure in our typical behaviour. And let's face it, we do. But is that impacting on our functionality? So if I'm constantly thinking, oh my gosh, okay, I'm out of control. If I'm constantly thinking that, then it's as if I'm constantly, let's be honest, behind the blocks at the Olympics. Now, when you're behind the blocks at the Olympics, you're kind of excited. It's great to be here. But at the same time, you kind of wish the track might open you up and you could just escape. So that's not too dissimilar to people are feeling this anxiety, but I'm like, how do I escape? How do I fight or flight? Now, we haven't mutated over the decades and hundreds and thousands of years to go, oh, hang on, yeah, the anxiety I'm feeling now because I've got this high demand and low control, that's not really a primitive anxiety because look at us. We're wearing, I've got lipstick on and I'm ever so fancy. We haven't been able to really control that at a physiological level. Otherwise, if we could control things, we do what mums would do. I'd get an extra pair of eyes in the back of my head, or you get another set of arms because you need them. All these cliche things. So what do? We have to acknowledge we've got, there's this fight or flight, survival. This is the whole Darwin theory of survival. So I do love and I'm going back to science. I love science. I love going back to the evidence. What's the science telling us at a cellular level? So if we go to that, then we just have to recognize the symptoms. And recognizing that means, okay, yep, you know what? We are a little bit out of balance. what can we do to mitigate that happening, or to mitigate the fact that I'm going to burn out, I'm going to have a meltdown, I'm going to be really unwell. And if I can't, put my oxygen mask on, I certainly can't put yours on, and all of those things. So now acknowledging, being aware of what those signs and symptoms are, upskilling ourselves, educating ourselves, training ourselves in that body of work for everybody. Every Australian, every Victorian, but every Australian is really, really vital, so that we don't, just plummet, because we know we want to be adrenalised. But if I was adrenalised, I ran my race and then I didn't go, whoof, let's put my feet up, give me a massage, please. Can I have, whoever the Olympic sponsor was, can I have a Gatorade, or can, someone pamper me? If I didn't pamper, then I would be like a little rodent on a wheel, wouldn't I? All the time. So in a sporting sense, we do that. And in 2020, as Australians experiencing, and everyone's going to experience different levels of stress and being different levels of being out of control, but I think it's really important that we're aware of that, and then self-care. So exercise, diet, physiological health. Oh my gosh, we've been trying to tell people for decades to be healthy. Can we be? Why do we need to be physiologically healthy? People think it's just a weight thing. Not at all. Let's just be robust in our cellular capabilities, so that we are adrenalised. We can combat that and relax. So the science behind 2020, and I'm empathetic for everybody, because we're all in it. Let's hope that we can just be mindful, aware. Navigate people towards help, know what that help is, know what that help does, and and then just let's face 2021 like it's a new decade.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious, because I think a lot of that there is the stigma is going down, absolutely, but I still think there's a lot of people almost don't understand if they are feeling anxious or depressed. So what are some common signs that people should be aware of?
I mean, it might just be in a workplace. Sometimes it's just being forgetful or confused or absent-minded. Now, typically, if we don't have leaders in our workplace trained and aware of the signs and symptoms of the onset of a mental health problem, then they'll go, oh gosh, Georgie's not really interested. She's not very engaged in this workplace. Oh, actually, well, she's probably not really up to it. So we can interpret, I'm interpreting your behaviour because I don't have the training and the awareness and the skills. So that's why it's important that, we're all aware of the signs and symptoms. What do they look like? Now, sometimes they might be, and it's interesting, it might be someone talking really fast. Now, I'm a fast talker. So when we look at signs and symptoms, you look at a departure in typical behaviour. So for me, if I was really withdrawn, oh gosh, Lee's really disinterested because I'm exhausted, I'm fatigued, that for me would be a sign. So whilst mental health is a spectrum, it's we have poor mental health all the way to great mental health, much like fitness. So are sometimes the symptoms. So it's like, someone might eat a lot and then someone actually loses their appetite. Oh, hang on, I was wanting something more definitive. Someone sleeps a lot. Oh, someone's not sleeping. Hang on, that again is, where are you sitting? So it's understanding a lot of, there'll be depressive symptoms, but there may be that adrenalized symptoms, but it's also assessing someone and knowing that person, so that when those symptoms are a change in behaviour, it's more that change. So typically, is there a departure in Georgie's behaviour across time? And is it impacting on her functioning? So in a workplace, is she a little bit more absent-minded? My goodness, did you forget that meeting? Not again. You forgot the meeting the other day. Is everything okay? So it's those sorts of, it's a little bit multifaceted. Yeah. Does if that makes sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I love the way you just described that, because I think people want just to be like, tell me the steps, tell me the signs. And what you're saying is that there's not really. So as a leader, then what I'm sort of taking away from that is that know your team. So if you're a leader right now and you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh, actually a couple of my teammates, they have changed their pattern of behavior. What advice would you give to those leaders of how to handle that? Because I think a lot of leaders, like, they're going through this as well. So any tips on how to handle and bring it up?
Yeah, really good. And that goes to almost, you're talking about stigma and discrimination earlier. When we can feel, when I deliver my training, not only am I talking about signs and symptoms and awareness, I'm trying to encourage you to have the confidence to have that conversation. It's have the confidence to be a human being and ask if someone's okay. Like, why don't people do that? And people typically will see a barrier in themselves offering support. They'll say, oh, no, look, Georgie's fine. Oh, no, look, I don't want to encroach. Oh, no, it's so not my business. Oh, no, she'll be okay. Or she'll get through 2020. Or we think that we're imposing. Now, I'd rather somebody impose and maybe feel slightly awkward than say, oh yeah, when Georgie, so sorry, I'm just using it. Yeah. So when Georgie's, not well, and oh really? Oh yeah, well I saw it, didn't I? Oh well, I'm not surprised because I've noticed. So I don't want you to be a gold medalist in telling me after the fact. So it's really, how do I encourage you to be confident enough, to ask Georgie if she's okay, and that really is being a human being. Being empathetic, and we have enough "Are you okay?" posters in workplaces, and they are amazing because what they do is they set the platform to invite you to have a conversation. So in workplaces, we'll talk about promotion, protection, support. So so training is promotion, posters are promotion, but if I've got them there also, it's that subtle understanding that I'm protected. So when I do have a conversation, I feel safe. So, Georgie, how are you feeling? I've noticed that you were a little bit irritable in that meeting. I've noticed that you didn't get that report in. I've also noticed that you're just feeling so exhausted and you're probably not, you haven't been going for your lunchtime walk like normal. So when we can start saying, I've noticed that, and you know what? And I usually love it because you get everyone to walk because you're the dynamo, the dynamo around here. Like, let's value what you do and bring. And notice the change in that, so we can have just a normal human conversation. And then you might go, you know what, I hadn't even realised that, but now you mention it, yes. Oh, I think I need to go back to my health, or I need to just sort of maybe take a step back, or and recognise that I could improve my health and then not succumb. We're trying to change those statistics. If we have those conversations early, then we prevent the escalation in statistics, which is already 1 in 5 Australians at any one time experiencing a common mental illness.
I know.
That's not a stat that we want. No. Australians love, but we certainly can't. Yeah.
No, I know, and I read these stats, and it just makes me just feel heartbroken because me myself, I suffered anxiety really bad in my 20s and like panic attacks, and I just don't wish it upon anyone. And look, you've mentioned a few things there about upskilling yourself, educating yourself, knowing the signs. You said exercise. Anything else that you do yourself, or you've told your clients to do, that again is backed by science, that you can see really has made improvements?
Really for me, the connection between, physiology, fitness, emotional strength is really strong. So it's always, so I do see that strong connection. I don't expect you to run at the Olympics. I don't expect you to train as hard as we did at the Olympics. But, recognizing that connection between good physiological health and really good emotional health. So my go-to usually is exercise, but my go-to also is eat well. We eat whole foods because we're designed to eat whole foods. So I would say to someone, if you just came onto this world and then there was a banana and there was an orange and there was a pack of Cheezels, would you know what the pack of Cheezels were? Like, is that a food? I mean, it's ludicrous to me. And so we have real food because it works in our real bodies. And even things like, let's improve our serotonin. So your brain chemistry, and I did a lot of research around serotonin in my thesis, but you can improve your brain chemistry just by having a healthy diet. You can improve endorphins and gratitude and oxytocin and all these great things for blood flow. But even the simple act of increasing your serotonin so that cognitively you can reuptake a memory and recall and concentrate and be cognitive. Bananas packed full of tryptophan, which is a large amino acid, and that will produce serotonin in your brain. So I say to people, don't go to the chemist and ask for serotonin in the aisle for S. It's like, no, you can't eat a neurotransmitter. But you can manipulate your diet through healthy foods to increase that. Milk's a really great source. And that's why, when you're too young to know, Georgie, but in the old days when we watched wholesome, American shows, and, if you were not feeling well, I'd make you a hot piping cup of cocoa and I'd plonk it on there and we'd drink it and, oh, mama, I feel better. Well, I didn't say to you, of course you do, gorgeous, because I've just given you a whole cup of tryptophan and now your serotonin's feeling wonderful and you'll have a great sleep because your mood's all wonderful. We didn't do that. But that sort of dietary manipulation, which is not, it's not even manipulation. Please eat whole foods because they're designed to have highly functional vitamins, minerals, nutrients, to support cellular function and mental health. Boom. Yeah.
I completely agree with everything you're saying, and I do eat a 90% plant-based diet. I've tried whole foods, and I have done for 2 years, and I can honestly say I feel energetic. I do get up early every day. I've got, both Kai and I have endless amounts of energy, and you feel brilliant. And you're so right. Like, when did we just go for these these quick fixes? I think it's like everything, right? Everyone just wants that magic pill. Everyone wants to say, do this diet, you'll lose this weight. Take this pill, you'll feel better. And actually, it's stripping it right back and go, what does nature want us to do? Nature wants us to move. It wants us to eat whole foods. And if we could just get back to that, then perhaps we would see a drop in mental health, obesity, and just general well-being.
No, I've got absolutely 100% firmly believe it. I mean, that goes back to to the model of, like a 100-meter race. If we just focus on the what, if we just focus on the medal, what's the medal look like? What color's your medal? Then, but if we understand the why and the how, and so that goes to diet and exercise, then our what will be amazing. It'll be amazing. So, the patience in that why and how phase and in that journey is really valuable. Let's not rush to that end point.
Yeah. Do you think it all comes down to habits though, Lee? Because you must have incredible habits. Like, talk to me about what your sort of typical day looks like.
Oh God. What does my typical? Well, you know what? So now I'm actually. There used to be this, risk reward concept in my mind. So when you're an Olympic athlete, you train really hard and you push yourself. And the risk is, I might get injured, but my gosh, I'll make that Australian team. I'm wearing the green and gold. This is amazing. I've already said it. It's a money can't buy experience. And my Lord, I love it. But when when it's 2 decades since you've retired, you have to be really careful about how much you throw your body around. So my risk reward really revolves around walking. So I have a gorgeous cavoodle like yourself, named Teddy like yourself, and so walking, for me, I'm thinking, so it's mindful, but I walk, and I probably actually, lately, this year in 2020, I walk twice a day. So I'm walking early in the morning and then at night. So that's 2 hours of walking a day. And every now and again, and it's funny, so every now and again, I'll do some hill running just because the kids are doing some hill running. So my 3 kids are very sporty, and I'll run. I'm like, my gosh, I could make a comeback. Yes, in fact, Lena.
Yes.
Lena is making a comeback. So by the end of the second rep, it's like, yep, that's going to happen. Like, that will happen because I'm loving it. It's like, my gosh. Then after about the 5th rep, it's like, oh my Lord, I've just lost my pride, back there. So I do that every now and again for the benefit of just thoroughly enjoying it. But, the next day I'll be sore, and it's like, you can't be making a habit of that, So my day, starts and ends, with physical activity, with exercise, and I'm lucky that the kids are active, so that sort of gives me a purpose to be out there and practicing what I preach. We eat really healthily. We eat every meal, is made, as the kids like to say, from scratch. We don't really have that many packets, in the house, and we just eat whole food and food, and really appreciate that that we can do that we've got access to good food. So it's eating, it's sleeping, it's exercising, and then I deliver most of my days online, training and helping people in mental health and just in health in general, which I'm really fortunate to be working in a field that I'm not like just passionate about. I'm skilled at it, the knowledge, so it's great.
Yeah. Beautiful. Look, I just could sit here and talk to you all day. I just love your energy. I always have. Like the moment I met you, I was just like, wow, blown away by your energy. But look, for those people right now that don't perhaps have the energy and are sat at home right now in a really bad place, in a real rut, just what advice, speak to them right now. What advice would you give to them just to try and help them during this time?
Do you know what? Yeah, Georgie, excellent question. And there's some science behind that. When we are stressed, so in that primitive phase, when we're stressed, our body thinks, even if we're on the couch just thinking, oh my gosh, and you're thinking about your life, your body at a cellular level is thinking, oh my gosh, Lee's going to go for a run, and she's going to go and get that woolly mammoth and drag it back to the cave. So that's what I'm thinking. So at a cellular level, my body is designed then to go for high density foods. So in a primitive sense, where were my high density foods? They were those little red berries on trees. So, I'd go and eat some berries. Wow, that's sugar. It's amazing. I've recovered from my big physical activity and my fight or flight. So instinctively, our bodies tend to, when we're stressed, they tend to want to go for chocolate. They tend to want to go for, your high density, your alcohol. Alcohol's just like soft drink, except for that first alcohol to acetaldehyde reaction. So there's some science around the foods that we crave, because from a primitive sense, that's what our body thinks we need. So I would suggest, it's mindfulness, but it's just being aware of those habits. And you've said the word habit. So again, going back to athletes write everything down. We document our lives. So I used to write down all of my training, and I do that. So I look at it and go, yes, that's why I ran well. Or actually, that's not why I ran well. So I need to probably not do that again, or I probably overtrained, or I pushed it. Equally, we do that with food. So if you're feeling stressed, I've got no motivation, where do I start? Let's just be kind to ourselves and just write down maybe our eating habits in conjunction with that. And if we see a pattern that's like, okay, you know what, I'm sitting, I'm stressed, I'm actually eating chocolate, and knowing that that's not helping, then I really firmly believe we can strongly look at that and go, okay, if nothing else, let's find that banana. Let's find that banana that Lee's just talked about that has some tryptophan in it that's going to make me feel better, and then the cycle goes back the other way. So it's really, it's not, me, if it's not sustainable. If I came onto your couch and said, come on, Georgie, we've got this.
I would get up and run.
There are many Olympic coaches that were like that. It's tough.
Yeah.
But let's be realistic. Let's kind of be sustainable in that. I'm not the tough love kind of coach. Let's educate, make people aware, make them see the connection. So so write that behavior down, and then when you change that behavior, and it's like, wow, I'm feeling better, and wow, I do feel good. And it's a slow change. These, mental health is a slow onset, so it's going to be a slow improvement, and that's A-OK as well. But just knowing that you're moving in the right direction and you can see some health benefits, really valid, really important.
Yeah. Beautiful. That is such amazing advice. I just think, I guess for me as well, it's like, it's okay not to be okay. Like, let's all have a bit of grace and go, we are in a global pandemic. It's perfectly normal to be feeling a bit stressed and overwhelmed. People have got their kids at home, they're trying to homeschool, keep their jobs. They feel like their company might not be around in a year's time, so they're probably even working even harder. All that pressure. No wonder people are feeling stressed. Just take a breath.
Yeah, correct. And you're exactly right. It is okay to not be okay. And I think to articulate that and just to recognize that and sort of even, we wear these masks or we wear these shields. You know what? How's I'm actually wearing a mask. But
yeah, we are.
I say that now, and it's like, well, actually, I do have a few masks. But we do wear these masks as if I'm amazing. Well, look, I went to the Olympics. I'm fantastic. I've got a PhD. My gosh, tell me more. What? Gosh, if I had that whole idea that I can't fail, then if I was tracking poorly, I'd have to really hide it, would I not? So let's just be kind and open and fair. And I often say to young people, because I love young people, and I love, you're young, but even younger people who have, just left school or just left uni and they're really starting in the workplace, and I may know them from a sporting context or whatnot. And I'll say, are you happy and are you well? And they go, oh, yeah. And the next question I ask is, would you know if you weren't?
Ooh.
So I think that's a really important question. Like, would you know if you weren't happy, or would you know if you weren't well? And sometimes I look and I think, great, you heard me, you've got it. And they go, yeah, thanks, Lee. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like, good boy. So I think that next question is really good as well, because we often, someone says, hi, how are you? Oh, good, thanks. It's like, why didn't I just say, oh God, it took me forever to, have a shower today. I was in my pajamas until whatever. So we're quite used to sort of, bashing off that question. So that next question, I think I enjoy saying that next question just to kind of delve. Just to delve. You can use that one, Georgie.
Yeah. Would you know if you weren't? I love that. That's so powerful. Yeah. So powerful. And a really good question for leaders as well to ask their team. So if they say, how are you feeling today? And someone says fine or good, and they say, would you know if you weren't? Oh, like, that's really powerful. So I think ending it there is amazing. Well, Lee, look, amazing to have you here. Where can people find you if they want to reach out to you and find out more about what you do?
Thank you. Well, they can find me at Fit and Healthy Business, which is fithealthy.com.au. So, anyone can find me. I can chat like this, or we might have to make it a little bit shorter.
I love it. The world needs your energy right now, Lee. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. And for the audience that have listened, I really hope you got some amazing takeaways. And Lee, thank you so much again. Beautiful to have you on. And thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening to the Mind to Lead podcast. I really hope you got some great takeaways and key learnings from this episode. To help us spread the message, please give us a rating and leave us a review. We love reading your thoughts and your insights and your learnings. And look, reach out to me. Reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm Georgie Hubbard. Reach out to me on Instagram. I'm Georgie L. Hubbard. Let's connect. I hope you have an incredible day, and I look forward to speaking to you all again soon.